Hi everyone, welcome to the Move Well series. My name is David. I'm the Fitwell coordinator for personal training here at the Student Rec Center. I have Ed Marshall here with me today, and today we're going to be demonstrating some exercises that you could do here at the Rec Center or at home. Come follow along. All right, well, before we begin our workout today, we're always going to start off with a dynamic warm-up. What dynamic warm-up consists of is just some light stretches that your body's moving through where you're not holding that stretch in a static position. All right, so the first thing we're gonna warm up with is a stretch I like to call the world's greatest stretch, okay? All right, Ed, can I have you go ahead and stand in front of the mat here? All right, now the world's greatest stretch is a really good bang for your buck type of exercise because it really does target multiple areas of the body as long as you do it properly. Now there's many different ways you can go about it. This is my variation, okay? All right, let's go ahead and start off with our feet together. We're going to start by reaching up towards the ceiling as high as we can. Now go ahead and lift up to your tippy toes as well. So you just go ahead and stretch up, reach for the sky here. And then whenever you're ready, we're gonna come back, drop our heels back down. Keeping our legs straight, I want you to go ahead and hinge at the hips. That means we're pushing our butt back. We're reaching our hands down our legs. Now, in this position, I want you to make sure you feel that stretch in those hamstrings behind those legs, okay? I want you to go ahead and keep lowering your hands to the floor until you can find the floor with your fingertips, okay? Once you touch the floor, go ahead and walk your hands out into a push-up position, trying to keep those legs straight as much as you can. All right. Now, we have two legs, so we're gonna start with the right side, okay? So in this push-up position, I want you to go ahead and place your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Boom, just like that. All right, this position right here is a good enough stretch for a lot of us, all right? But if you do need a modification, Ed, you can go ahead and drop that left knee to the floor, right? Just by dropping that left knee to the floor, it's gonna help him get a little bit lower to the floor if his hips are tight, right? All right. Up to you if you want to keep the knee on the floor, if you want to straighten up for a deeper stretch. But in this position, I want you to go ahead and think about lifting up your chest, holding those shoulders down towards the hips, and then dropping those hips down to the floor. So we're stretching out that hip flexor on that left side. Good. All right. Now go ahead and drop that knee to the floor. We're staying in this position. We're going to go into a thoracic spine rotation. Your thoracic spine is the upper portion of your torso or your trunk, all right? This is where a lot of the movement happens in our upper body. So what I'm gonna have Ed do is go ahead and take your right hand and we're just gonna reach across our chest towards the wall over here to your left, yep. You don't have to push yourself to go as far as you can, but I do want you to think about trying to touch your right elbow to the floor if possible. You don't have to touch it, but yeah, just as far as you can comfortably go, right? Good, now we're gonna take a deep breath, and as we exhale, we're rotating out towards the camera, towards the other way. And I want you to reach up to the ceiling through your fingertips. Go ahead and hold it right here. As we're holding this position, I want you to go ahead and pull the shoulders down towards your hips. There you go, good. And look at Ed, his eyes are following his hands here. That's perfect. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. So we're going to take a deep breath, reach our hand across. As you can see here, all of that rotation is happening through his upper back right here, and that's where we want to feel it. Now go ahead and exhale and rotate up. Fantastic. All right, go ahead and place that hand back down to the floor. All right, lift up your left knee again, and then go ahead and bring your right foot back. All right, now from here, we're gonna walk back up the same way we came down. Exactly, there you go. Walk those hands back, make sure you feel that stretch in the hamstrings, and then go ahead and lift yourself back up one vertebrae at a time. Big shoulder roll at the top. All right, hopefully you feel a little bit more awake now. Oh, definitely. That's fantastic. All right, well, we do have two legs, so let's go ahead and do the other side real quick, okay? So, all right, so let's go ahead and start with the overhead reach first. Go on your tiptoes, just reach up to the ceiling and come back down. Hips goes back, hands finding the floor here. Once you touch the floor, go ahead and walk those hands out, trying to keep those legs straight. All right, now this time go ahead and bring that left foot out to the side. There you go. All right. Now, folks, if you're trying this at home or for the first time, a little tip here is try to think about placing that foot as close to the side of your hand as possible, right? So let's just go ahead and demonstrate the other way. If you can bring your foot back here, right? So you don't want that foot to be too far back, right? So you want to be able to bring that foot far enough forward that you can plant that heel down if possible, okay? All right, good. Now up to you, Ed, if you want to go with the knee down or the legs straight, right? But I want you to go ahead and think about squeezing those glutes, lifting up that chest. There you go. And then dropping those hips down to the floor so you're stretching out that hip flexor. All right, now this time we're gonna take our left hand. Again, if you want to keep that knee down, up to you, but we're gonna take that left hand, take a deep breath in. As we exhale, rotate towards the mirror, yep. Again, we don't have to, but just think about trying to reach for the floor with your elbow. And then exhale, rotate out the other way, eyes following your fingertips. Again, we're being mindful to pull the shoulders down away from the ears. There you go, yep. And let's do that one more time. Good, deep breath, there you go. Again, whenever we're doing stretches, I want y'all to just push yourself to the point of mild discomfort, okay? Whenever we're doing any sort of exercise or any sort of stretch, we don't want to feel pain, right? So it should feel a little discomforting, like if muscles are being stretched, but if you feel any sort of sharp pain, then you should stop and consult your physician, okay? Just a little rule of thumb there. All right, go ahead and place that left hand back down to the floor. Bring that left foot back, and let's go ahead and walk those hands back to our feet. Good. Now lift ourselves up one vertebrae at a time, just rolling yourself back up, and then a big shoulder roll back at the top. Fantastic job. All right, shake it out. Shake out your arms and legs. Very good. All right, then my next stretch I want to show you guys is really simple. You could do this virtually anywhere in the world, all right, as long as you have the space. But we're just going to do some arm circles, right? Super simple. So all we're gonna do is just reach forward, up, try to point your fingers back behind you and down, right? And just go ahead and give me about 5 of those. Now, as we're doing this, try to keep your eyes straight ahead, try not to look down, and you wanna just try to reach as wide as you can, full range of motion here, okay? We don't need to overcomplicate this movement. Just doing arm circles alone is a pretty good dynamic exercise for your shoulders, just to kind of stretch out all those muscles surrounding that joint. All right, let's go ahead and do one more, and then we're gonna change directions and go forward. All right, now let's go ahead and go the other way now. Fantastic. Good 2, let's do 3 more. Go. Each time you reach those arms back, I want you to think about stretching out your chest, right? So we're lifting up our chest, pulling those shoulders apart. All right, and go ahead and relax. Good. All right, so that's a variation that you can do anywhere without any sort of equipment. But if you have access to a resistance band, or if you are at home, you can even use a bath towel as well, right? We're gonna add a little bit of resistance to the same exercise here, okay? So I'm gonna have Ed go ahead and hold on to this TheraBand here, and let's go and hold with our palms facing down, okay? As far as hand width goes, we're just gonna place our hands slightly outside of shoulder width apart, so we don't wanna be too narrow here, okay? So as long as it's outside shoulder width apart. From here, we're going to start by standing up tall with our chest out, okay? Shoulders pulled down. Now, if we're using a resistance band, I'm going to instruct Ed here to go ahead and think about pulling that band apart. So we're creating a little bit of tension here, okay? Now we're going to lift our arms up, just like as we did before. This time, we're going to try and reach as far back as we can. And if possible, bring that band back down to the back of the hips, right? Now, this band is pretty tough, right? And sometimes our shoulders are tight. Oh, nice. You got it, very nice. But I was going to say is, if you find that as difficult to do, if it causes any sort of pain or it's hard to do without bending your elbows, all you have to do is widen your grip a little bit, okay? So it's going to demonstrate that a little bit. All you gotta do is widen that grip, and now it becomes much easier to do. All right, let's try that again. Wider grip, yep. Keep the arm straight, nice. Now folks, I just want to caution you, don't go too wide, all right? So you do want to keep some tension on that band. You want to feel your shoulders working here, okay? If it's too wide, right, it's not going to do a whole lot for you, right? Yeah, that's too loose, So yeah, just make sure you create some tension on it, okay? Again, if it causes pain, then just widen that grip. If it's too easy though, narrow that grip slightly, okay? All right, let's go ahead and do one more, except this time I'm gonna have you hold it right here, hold it. All right, band behind you now. Go ahead and lift up your chest for me and pinch your shoulder blades back together, stretching out those pecs, and hold for 3, 2, and 1. Let's go and bring it back forward and relax. All right, good. All right, very nice. Let's go and I'll take that. Thank you very much. All right, so hopefully now Ed feels woken up, warmed up, right? Body's feeling loose. We're gonna get into our workout now, okay? All right, the first exercise I have for y'all is going to be a core exercise, okay? So this one, you don't need any equipment, you just need a floor, okay? All right, Ed, I'm gonna have you go ahead and lay down on your back, please. Now, first exercise I'm gonna show y'all today is going to be called a dead bug, okay? This is a really great exercise for anybody who's experiencing any tightness or lower back pain, especially if you've been sitting a lot, right? What ends up happening is that there's a certain core muscle in our midsection called the transverse abdominis. It tends to become chronically weakened or underactive if we sit too much, right? So it's a really great muscle to strengthen to stabilize the hips and that lower back. All right, to get in position, I'm going to have you mimic a dead bug. So to do that, I'm going to have you go ahead and bring your legs up in a 90-degree angle, just like that, perfect. And then let's go ahead and reach up with our hands as well towards the ceiling. Voila, a dead bug, all right. Okay, now, you'll notice in this position, I'm looking for 90-degree angles here, okay? So I'm looking for 90 degrees at the hips and 90 degrees at the knees. So you don't want those knees to be too far in towards your stomach, okay? And you don't want the feet to be too high up or too far down either, okay? So try to hold that 90-degree angle. Before we do anything, I'm going to ask Ed to go ahead and find a neutral spine or neutral back here, okay? So what that means is he's going to just wiggle his hips a little bit so that he feels his tailbone is flat on the floor. What I'm also going to instruct Ed to do is just ever so slightly closing that gap, okay? Now, when you lay down on your back, what you might notice is that naturally there's going to be a little arch underneath that lower back, okay? So with his legs up in the 90-degree angle, I'm going to instruct Ed to go ahead and press down slightly with his lower back just to close in that gap, okay? So again, we're checking off the list here. Hips and knees are 90 degrees. Tailbone is flat on the floor. That lower back is pressed in. That's perfect. All right, now to go ahead and initiate the movement, what I'm having Ed do is go ahead and we're gonna kick out one leg. We're just gonna keep the arms straight for now, okay? But just go and kick out one leg for me. Fantastic, good. All right, so you'll notice his toes are pointing up, okay? So you wanna keep those toes pointing up towards the ceiling, and I want you to think about pushing through the heel. We're just gonna lower just a little bit more. Perfect. And go ahead and switch legs. There you go. So the movement is as simple as that. But what's happening is, as he's kicking out his leg, I'm going to instruct Ed to focus on pressing down his lower back into that floor, okay? What he should be feeling is that midsection right underneath his belly button tightening up, almost like there's a belt tightening around his waistline. All right, keep this heel up again, yep. Keep that 90-degree angle and switch. Looking good. So if you're trying this for the first time, you're finding difficulty pressing that lower back down, I always recommend beginners to just keep the arms pointing up at the ceiling, all right? Once this becomes doable or a little bit easier for you, we can progress it by incorporating alternating arms, right? So as Ed kicks out one leg, I'm going to tell him to go ahead and reach back with the opposite arm. There you go. Good, yep. Keep that hand pointing up the ceiling and let's switch again. Fantastic, keep that foot up. Looking good. And switch again. All right, and relax. You can go ahead and relax now. All right, can you go ahead and point to me, like, where did you feel that exercise? Like,
Filling it in the lower abs, the hip flexors there, just keeping those legs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. Feel anything in your lower back at all?
As I'm pushing the back down, you know, that takes a little effort as well.
A little bit. Good. That's good. The main focus again should be right here, okay? So right in the lower abs, again, right underneath that belly button region, okay? Now, if you are having a difficult time feeling that muscle working, or if you're working out with a friend, a great option that you can do is placing a band or a towel underneath your partner's lower back, right? And what this does is just gives your body a physical cue, something to feel for as you're performing the movement, right? So it's almost giving him a tactile stimulus in order to, you know, engage the correct muscles. So I'm gonna show you on this end. All right, go ahead and place this band across your lower back for me, please. Right above the hips, right where your natural arch is. And let's get into that same position. Now, I will say this one is, this will make the movement significantly harder, but let's give it a try, okay? So let's go ahead and bring our arms and legs up, same position as before. All right, now I'm gonna have Ed do the same thing. Let's just do just the legs and not the arms, okay? But this time, I'm gonna tell Ed to go ahead and press that lower back down into the band. I'm going to create some tension on that band. And Ed, as you're kicking your legs out, try not to let me pull that band out from underneath you, all right? I'll go light. Good, yeah, it's very good. So I'm just gonna give that band a slight tug. And right now, you should feel like it's a lot more effort, right? Now you have to really focus on pressing down that lower back into the floor. And the great news is that once it starts to wiggle or once it starts to give, again, that gives him the physical response that he needs to press a little bit more on that side, right? So you can go ahead and relax. Nice job, nice job. All right, I'll take that. Very good. You can go ahead and breathe. All right, yeah, but as you can tell, just by placing the band underneath the lower back, giving a tug, that makes that movement much more harder. All right. You can go and relax. Thank you for doing that. All right, let's go ahead and stand back up and we'll just shake it out, okay? Now, I do love to start off with a core exercise because a lot of the exercises that we do requires the core to be active, right? What the core does is it helps not only provide stability, but also helps transfer power, strength from our upper and lower extremities. So without a strong core, we tend to lose out on a lot of stability in our exercises, right? Well, the first compound exercise I want to show you today is just going to be a regular squat. Now, we're going to start off with a body weight squat, okay? Now, as far as checklist goes, what I'm going to look for is feet about shoulder width apart, okay? If you like to have the toes slightly turned out, that's fine. All right, so if you want to, you can also rotate your toes out about 45 degrees, okay? And we're standing tall. Now, what I'm going to instruct Ed to do is, as we squat down, I want you to keep your chest lifted, so keep that chest up, keep that chin up, so we're not looking down, right? And then as we lower ourselves, I want you to imagine like you're sitting onto a small stool that's behind you, right? So we're sitting that butt down, chest stays tall, and as we lower ourselves down, the knees will go forward and out over the toes. Perfect form right there. And come back up, okay? Let's go ahead and do about 2 more repetitions. So hips goes back. You'll notice that his eyes are straight ahead, right? And you'll also notice that his upper back stays straight as well. He's not letting his shoulders round forward, right? He's keeping that chest tall and proud. Very good. All right. Well, the bodyweight squat's a really great place to start, but if that's too easy for you, there's a couple ways we can progress this, okay? The first way we're gonna do it is a variation called the goblet squat. You can do this with a dumbbell, or you can do this with a kettlebell as well. But what I'm gonna have Ed do is go ahead and hold this dumbbell in front of your chest just like this, okay? You can hold it horizontal or vertical. I'll leave it up to you. Okay. But as we're holding this weight, I want you to go ahead and close those elbows into your rib cage and try to keep that weight as close to your chest as you can, okay? Now we're going to perform the same movement. The only difference is the weight now is going to be pulling your body forward. So you're going to have to use that core, use your abs and that lower back to keep that trunk lifted, right? So again, we're not rounding forward here. As far as depth goes, if this is an unfamiliar movement for you, I say just go as low as you can comfortably go without rounding that lower back. Ed, can you show us a rounded lower back, please? Yeah, there you go. So just make sure you go low enough where you don't start to round that spine, okay? You want to keep that spine neutral as best as you can. All right, let's go ahead and do that good form again. Now, if everything feels good, right? Nothing's hurting, your back is staying straight, then a good rule of thumb is you want to squat to what we call parallel. And so that's when the thighs here are reaching about horizontal or slightly below. All right, let's do one more and we can rest. Knees over the toes, that looks perfect. And exhale, relax, good. All right, fantastic. All right, you can go ahead and drop that weight. Let's just go over some common form mistakes with the squat, okay? So a lot of times you may notice that the heels want to lift up, right? If that's the case, that's usually a sign of immobility, either in the hips or the ankles, right? So a good way to work around that is, number one, Ed, as you squat down, think about reaching those hands out, right? So if you're just doing body weight, go ahead and reach those arms out. And that provides a sort of a counterweight, so you can lean that weight back a little bit more, right? Good. But another way that you could work around it is if you happen to have any sort of like weights around or like plates or anything that could elevate your heels on, you can also just have the heels slightly elevated, and that would make the movement easier. I don't have any of that today with me, but if you have those at home, then again, it would just be slight elevation in the heels, right? With the toes on the floor, squatting like that. All right. So that's the squat. Let's go over to our second exercise. This one is going to be called the Romanian Deadlift, okay? So the deadlift, how it differs from a squat is, this movement is referred to as a hip hinge, right? So now the movement should be coming more from the hips and less from the knees, right? So a deadlift is, I want you to go ahead and stand with your feet shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward, okay? Now we're gonna do this without any weights first, okay? We're gonna start with our hands on our thighs. From here, I want you to go ahead and lift that chest up, okay? And keep that chin lifted. From here, I want you to go ahead and push those hips back. We're going to slide those hands down our legs. And as we're doing this movement, I want you to think of two cues, okay? Number one is chest out, and then second one is knees back. There you go. So you notice in this position here, Ed's knees are not going over his toes. He's keeping it right over his ankles, right? Let's go ahead and stand back up again. And let's do about 2 more reps, okay? So keep those hands against your thighs. Yep. We're gonna keep that chest lifted, keep those knees back. And you know you're doing this exercise right when you're feeling a deep stretch behind those legs in those hamstrings right here, okay? The weight should be primarily in the mid-foot, right where your shoelaces are. You should not be putting your weight on the front of your feet, right? So your heels should not be lifting off of the floor. Hold it right there. Let's go and lift the hips up slightly. Yep, pushing those knees back a little bit more, right there. Hold this right here. Now lift up your chest. Boom, right there. That looks perfect. Now go ahead and squeeze those glutes and we're gonna stand back up. All right, go ahead and relax. Now let's talk about what we're working out here, okay? So when we're doing a squat, we're working all of the legs, but it is a quad dominant exercise. So we're using a lot of the front part of our legs. With the deadlift, we're using a lot more of that posterior chain, right? So now we're engaging a lot more of the hamstrings, the glutes, and if we're holding weight, our lower back as well, right, and our core. So that's just the body weight version. Let's go ahead and add some dumbbells to it, okay? I'm gonna give you some 10-pounders here. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and stand our feet a little bit more narrow, toes pointing forward, okay? Now our hands are gonna be right in front of our legs. As we're performing this movement, I want you to keep those weights against those legs, okay? Don't let them come forward. Very good. Nice range of motion. Now we're gonna exhale, stand back up, squeezing the glutes, pushing hips through. Okay, very good. Let's look at that again. Yep. Hold it right there. Let's go and push those knees back slightly. There you go. Lift up that chest, lift up the chest. Very good. Now squeeze the glutes, come back up. All right. Go ahead and give me 3 more repetitions, okay? Let's talk about form checklist here. So, number 1, you'll notice his back is neutral. He is not rounding his shoulders forward, right? He's keeping that chest lifted. It may help to keep that chin up, right? So I would advise not to bring your chin to your chest on this one. Number 2, most of that movement's coming from the hips, right? Go ahead and stand back up. So if you're looking at which part of our body's moving around in space the most, it's going to be the hips. Those hips are going back, right? And number 3, those knees are staying over the ankles. They're not coming forward, right? Once those knees starts to come forward, then that becomes more of a squat movement, right? So let's go and demonstrate with the knees forward, right? So you'll notice with the knees coming forward, that chest is a lot more upright. This now it becomes much more of a squat. All right. Let's go ahead and relax now. You can relax. Thank you so much. All right. So that's the Romanian deadlift, okay? How with the first one, a regular deadlift, is that with a regular deadlift, you're picking the weight from the ground up. With a Romanian deadlift, you're just starting with the weight up high. That's the only difference here, okay? Now, if you have access to a barbell or one of these body bars that we have here at the SRC, you can do this with a singular weight as well, okay? There's no right or wrong answer, but what this does is that you just don't have to worry so much about balance or holding the weight as much in your hands anymore, right? So up to you on which variation you want to go with, okay? There's no wrong answer here. All right, well, let's give our lower body a little bit of a rest. We're gonna transition up to the upper body now, okay? So let's go ahead and shake out those legs, loosen them back up. All right, the first upper body exercise I want to show you is called the Scaption, okay? This is a really great shoulder mobility movement. You want to think of it as just doing arm circles, basically, okay? So, without weights, here's what it looks like. Ed, I want you to go ahead and give me a thumbs up and place both hands on your thighs, right? Now, with Scaption, all we're going to do is bring those hands up to about shoulder level, okay? And back down, simple as that, right? Now, the arms are not going to be too far out wide, right? So we're not trying to reach as far back as we can. You want those arms slightly in front of you at about 45-degree angle. I like to say, imagine like there's a big ball or sphere in front of you and you're just tracing that arm around that sphere, right? Or you're making snow angels in space. Now, if your shoulder mobility allows it and you don't feel any sort of pain, then feel free to go all the way up, touch thumb to thumb up top, and all the way back down. Let's go ahead and turn around, show them what it looks like from the front. Keep that chin up, chest lifted, yep, and back down. Very good. Now, if this feels good for you, there's no pain whatsoever, then let's go ahead and add a little bit of weight to it, okay? I recommend starting off with very light weights. We have 5 pounds here. Thank you. Yep. We don't need to go heavy on this exercise, okay? We're gonna keep those thumbs up, yep, and bring it back down. It's fantastic. As you're doing this exercise, a couple things to keep in mind. Try not to rock your hips, all right? So we're staying as tall and solid as we can, right? Yeah, exactly. So we're staying tall like a statue. And number 2, we're going slow. We're not swinging those arms, okay? We're not letting those arms fall down. We're controlling that descent. And last but not least, I wanted to cue tall chest and chin up, okay? Whenever you're doing shoulder raises, if you notice that your chin is down a lot, you're looking down a lot, that may be a sign that you're either getting tired or the weight might be a little too heavy, okay? So you wanna make sure you have good form on this one to avoid any injuries. All right. Now, so that's the scaption. The only difference between a scaption and a lateral raise is that with the scaption, your palms are facing forward, thumbs are pointing up. What that does is that externally rotates your humerus or your shoulder, that bone in your arm, right? It just externally rotates that shoulder a little bit, opens up that joint space. Great for anybody who may have tightness in their shoulders or in the upper neck if we're sitting in a rounded position a lot. But if you have perfectly healthy shoulders, then a really great way to target those deltoids is, let's go ahead and flip those palms down. And we're gonna do basically the same movement, except this time our palms are facing down and knuckles pointing out. There you go. And this right here, you're gonna feel this movement, feel this exercise a lot more right here on the side of those shoulders. Let's go ahead and turn, show them from the side. So yeah, if you're starting off, I do recommend about 45-degree angle in front of you. Okay, so what that means is our arms shouldn't be too far back or out to the side, right? So a good rule of thumb is just keep it slightly in front of you, okay? Fantastic. And let's bring it down and rest. Very good. All right. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and bring the weights down. All right, just gonna shake out those arms. Give me some shoulder rolls. All right, I got 2 more for you today, folks, okay? Our next movement is going to be called a bent over row. Now you can do this exercise with dumbbells or you can do it with a barbell. We're gonna show you the dumbbell variation today. Now, the nice part about this exercise is that if you've mastered the deadlift from our previous exercise, then getting into this position should be relatively easy, right? So, bent over row, what we're gonna do is start off with dumbbells in front of our legs, feet about shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward. From here, we're going to get into that same position as the deadlift. So we're hinging at the hips or sliding the hands down our legs, keeping those hands against our knees, yep. Right, keeping that chest lifted and knees back. Again, you should feel some stretch in that hamstring right here. Now, from here, I'm gonna tell Ed to go ahead and take a deep breath in. We're gonna hold some air in our stomach and tighten up those abs. Now, when we're ready to begin the exercise, we're going to pull those hands up to the sides of those rib cage. Yep, right there. Thinking about pinching your shoulder blades back together right here. And then exhaling, good. Take another deep breath and exhale as you row up and inhale as you come back down. Good. Now, as he's performing this exercise, you'll notice his lower back stays neutral. He is not moving that lower spine at all, right? So it does require some core engagement here. You don't want to round that spine forward. He's also keeping that chest lifted, so that chest is sticking out. He's not letting that chest caving in. Very good. And the last thing is, as you're doing this, try your best not to shrug too much, okay? So you don't want to think about pulling those hands up to the chest here, right? Good, yeah. You want to think about pulling those hands to those hips or to the sides of your stomach, right there. Good. Hands come back down and relax. Very good. All right, shake it out. Let's give that lower back a little bit of rest, and we're gonna do another set, okay? All right, let's try the barbell next, okay? So let's start with the dumbbells. So that was the dumbbell variation. If you have access to a barbell or a body bar, you could do it with that piece of equipment as well. So all it is we're gonna hold it in front of our body. Yep. Let's go and widen that grip. Yep, about shoulder width, outside shoulder width apart. And same thing here, we're gonna slide that bar down our leg, right? Hips back, knees back, chest out. And then now as we row, we're going to pull that bar up to the top of your stomach, pinching back. Let's go ahead and lift the hips up higher. There you go. Chest up a little bit more, right there. Good. Let's do one more. Exhale, breathe out as you row up. Good, and relax. All right, very good. And go ahead and turn around for me real quick. So with that movement, what we're working on here is the primary muscles being worked is going to be all these upper mid-back muscles, right? Primarily the lats. We got some of the rhomboids, right? As well as some of the teres muscles that pinch shoulder blades back as well, all right? So it's going to be a lot of different muscles in the back. But what you should be feeling with these rows is, go ahead and pull those arms back, chest up for me. You want to feel it right here, right underneath that shoulder blade, okay? So whenever you're doing that exercise, just be mindful of that's where you should be feeling it. All right, and one more thing I want to show you guys. Go ahead and face the side for me real quick. If you're wondering where the bar placement should be on your body, a good way to tell is go ahead and reach those arms out in front of you. And then I want you to pull the shoulders down away from the ears while keeping those arms straight, okay? So arms out in front of you, shoulders down. Now from here, just go ahead and pull those elbows back and pinch your shoulder blades, right? And if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, your forearms should be about parallel to the floor right there, right? Parallel arms. And again, you're pinching shoulder blades back. Boom, right there. So if you imagine Ed has a bar in his hands, it's going to touch right underneath his chest, right in the middle of that rib cage, right? There you go, you can relax. Ooh. Even without weights, doing that feels pretty good too. All right, go ahead and shake it out, okay? All right, so that's the bent over row. If you want a variation that you could do at home, another good place to start is just grabbing a chair or desk, or if you're here at the gym, you can use a bench as well. But just having your one hand elevated on some surface could be really helpful in stabilizing that back, okay? So you don't have to worry so much about keeping that back straight, okay? All right, well, we're almost there, we're coming to the end here. The last exercise I want to show you guys is just a simple push-up, okay? We all know it, some of us love it, some of us hate it, but let's go ahead and demonstrate how to perform a perfect push-up, okay? All right, so the first variation I wanted to show off is going to be with the knees down, and we're going to perform a variation called the dead stop push-up. This is great for any beginner who's learning how to perform this movement properly, okay? All right, so a couple things we want to check off before we begin anything. Number one, we want the hips to be straight, right? So we don't want those hips to be sagging down, yeah. And we don't want those knees to be too far forward either, where the hips are too far back, like that, exactly, right? So go ahead and come back out. If you look at the hips, it should be completely straight right here. And number two, you want the hands to be directly underneath the shoulders, okay? Too far often, I see people with hands too far high up. Exactly, you don't want to be underneath your face here. So keep those joints aligned, okay? Keep that wrist right underneath that shoulder, okay? Very good. All right, now, what a dead stop push-up is Ed, when you come down to the bottom of that push-up position, I want you to go ahead and lower yourself all the way down until your chest is completely on the floor, right? And we're just lying flat on the floor here. Good. And then what I want you to do is go ahead and lift your hands up from the floor, where they are, yep. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to take a deep breath in, exhale, press those hands back down, and press yourself back up. Fantastic. Now, the reason why I love this variation, especially for beginners, is it really teaches you how to engage your core and your pecs properly, right? Making sure everything moves as a single unit. It allows you to be a lot more mindful of your form without having to worry so much about keeping that body straight, right? You can imagine the other variation, you're essentially holding a planked position the entire time. So if you're just starting out, that might be a little difficult. So this is a great place to start if you're just learning how to press off to the ground, engaging that core and chest at the same time. Now, as you're doing this, let's go and bring it back down to the floor. What you don't want to do is allowing your body to roll off of the ground, right? So you don't want that chest to come off first before your hips do, right? Exactly, like that, right? So as you're pushing up, you want to think hips and chest come off of the floor at the same time if you can. Now, if this movement becomes easier, you can progress it by let's come up and let's go and lift up the knees, right? And now I want you to go and lower yourself down, same thing, except keep the knees off of the floor all the way down, good. Now you can go and drop those knees to the floor, lift up those hands, and press yourself up with the knees down or with the knees off, right? But as you can see, you can play around with it. There's different ways you can progress it. Good. All right, so that was the dead stop push-up. Now, Let's go ahead and take a little rest before we get into that next set, okay? Now, if you're wondering about hand placement here, and how wide your hands should be, honestly, there's no wrong or right answer for this, but if you're just starting out, will say you want the hands slightly outside shoulder width, and as you come down, think about leaving about 45 degrees of space underneath the armpit. If I look at you from behind, I like to say your elbows should be pointing up towards your head at a triangle, like an arrow, okay? But if your hand's a little bit wider, all that means is you're going to place a lot more emphasis on the pecs and that front delt of your shoulders. And with the hands more narrow, elbows closed in, you're going to be targeting a lot more of that tricep, okay? Again, no wrong or right answers here, just find one that works best for you. But if you're just starting out, 45 degrees, okay? That's what I like to say. All right, let's go ahead and get inside the same position here. This time we're gonna go up into a high plank, okay? Now, before we do anything, let's go ahead and check off some things about our form. So number one, we wanna make sure we have a neutral spine here, okay? You're gonna hear me say that a lot. Neutral spine, so that means our back is flat. We're not allowing that lower back to dip, and we're not sticking our butt up in the air either, right? So we're gonna come right down in the middle, making sure we're squeezing those glutes and tightening up that lower ab, right? All right, good. Now, as far as chin and head placement goes, I like to tell my clients, go ahead and pick a spot slightly in front of you and try to keep your eyes on that point, okay? As we come down, you want to leave a little space between your chin and your chest. Think about pinching your shoulder blades back together, and you want to feel that stretch across that chest, okay? If you feel like your shoulders are rounding forward, it may be a sign that you're fatiguing, getting a little tired, or we need to work on that form a little bit, okay? But again, you want to feel that shoulder blades pinching back right here. Yeah, so pinching the shoulder blades, sticking up the chest, good. And can you show me one where you're shrugging the shoulders, right? Yeah, so you don't want those shoulders to be coming up towards the ear, right? It's not gonna be very comfortable. So good rule of thumb is, again, try to keep those shoulders pulling down away from the earlobes towards the hips. And we're breathing out as we press back up. Let's go and do one more for good measure. Solid form here. All right, and relax. Nice work. All right, well, how do you feel?
Like I just worked out.
That's fantastic. That was the point. All right, well, that was the last exercise I have for y'all today. Thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you found this useful. Once again, my name is David. This is Ed here. We hope to see you guys next time.